an ordinary man whom I can share my story with anyone. I remember when I was born, my mother was asked by the community members to poison me. If you are born in the village, like my village, and you have the color which I have, for sure, you have to suffer. To be born with albinism in Tanzania is very tough because people think that we do not die. People are being hunting us, people are being chopped about our body parts. We are being isolated because of our skin color. People used to call us Zeru Zeru, which means ghost.
Say meridians.
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 Why do we call them meridians?
Sometimes I'm scared, still very scared.
Kabula is paralyzed with anxiety every time she has to leave her school campus, as it instantly takes her back to an event that happened 3 years ago.
I was walking with my sister when a car stopped beside us, and a man stared at me through the window. Then, 2 days before the attack, another man came to our house and asked for some water. My parents gave him water and asked where he was from, but he didn't reply. He didn't look like one of the locals, but he didn't say anything. 3 days later, 3 men broke into our house. The first was the one who'd stared at me from the car. The second was the one who'd come for water, and I didn't recognize the third. It was about 9:30. They knocked, but my mother didn't answer the door. So they kicked it down and told her not to scream. They were looking for money, and Mom suggested that they take the bicycle. They just laughed. After that, they attacked me and cut off my hand. One of them brought gasoline over and told Mom to cauterize the wound.
Kabula's attack may actually have ensured her a better future than most albino Africans. After that act of violence, Kabula's parents sent her to a special camp for albino children, where international aid organizations helped her to move on to a prestigious school by Tanzanian standards. Her time there ends next year. Josephat Terner and his colleagues are on a long country drive from Tanzania's largest city, Dar es Salaam, to Lake Victoria, a region where there are many albino communities. Terner was born there himself.
It is a tough journey because I needed to travel and you know, it's you know, because of the situation. Because of the situation, traveling sometimes is very risky.
They meet their first albino in search of help before even leaving the city. In the suburbs, they meet a teenager who's begging for money from passing drivers stuck in Dar es Salaam's never-ending traffic jams.
Why are you here? Don't you know how bad it is for you to stand out in the sun for such a long time?
I know, but I'm alone and need money to live.
Many people with albinism are poor, and they are being discriminated from the society. And sometimes you can see even this guy whom he was begging.
Every day at school is the same for the albino children. They wake up early, eat breakfast, go for lessons and have lunch and dinner. One of the 3 campus guards will be sure to lock the gates at 6 every evening. There are 100 students in this boarding school, all with similar backgrounds. They were all born in what's come to be known as the Lake Zone, a rural area in northern Tanzania, close to the majestic Lake Victoria. all were born with albinism, a condition characterized by the total absence of the skin pigment melanin. That's why these people have such pale skin and tend to have poor vision.
It's really astonishing for me. People around here generally don't talk about it very much. But I can't stop wondering. I keep asking, why does it happen? I mean, most of the parents who send their children here don't usually come back again, ever. Not even to visit or check that everything is fine with their kids. There's an old superstition here about having an albino child living in your house. They think it's a curse, that it's bad luck. To be honest, there are a lot of people who believe that sending their child to our school will lift this curse.
Kwa hii ni 4 jumlisha 6. Sasa sikizeni. Unajua kaipataje huyu? Sikaandika 10 hapa, umeona?
Hassan is 16 years old. He's one of the oldest students here at the special camp for albino children.
4 6. Kwa jina naitwa Hassan Hamisi.
My name is Hassan Hamisi. I'm from Kagama. I've been living here as a refugee since 2009 because it's the only place where I can be safe. I got here during a rise in the persecution of albino people. Things were really dangerous. My parents found out about this center from the media, and they decided to send me to this camp.
Hassan finished elementary school long ago and should have left this educational institution. But somehow the teenager persuaded the authorities to allow him to stay. And now he works every day as an assistant to a primary school teacher. Hassan, who was orphaned last year, has no illusions about what he could expect beyond the protected boundary of the camp.
When my parents saw that their baby was an albino, they were completely shocked. They asked the doctors what was wrong with me. They just wanted to figure it out. One of the doctors in the hospital explained that this is a normal condition, actually. My mother loved me a lot, but when I went to school, I caused a lot of trouble and a lot of problems for her. My classmates were really frightened of me. They were too scared even to touch me. They said that if they touched me, I would just start bleeding, or maybe even just disappear completely.
Tanzania has a high albino population. Only around 1 in 20,000 babies is usually born with this rare pigment deficiency. But in East Africa, it's 8 times higher. The number of people born with melanin abnormality is estimated at 150 to 200,000. In the more remote regions of Tanzania, a white-skinned child represents a stigma on the whole family. And on top of that, low education levels still mean that superstitious villagers associate albino people with an almost medieval variety of irrational fears.
To be born in Africa, and if you have a different color in Africa, especially white, and you are there for thousands of thousands, those who are black, really is an issue. Many people didn't understand well about albinism. People thought that I am ghost, and sometimes people thought I'm less human beings. Hey. Ale. Hey.
The start of the 21st century saw a widespread breakout in albino hunting. According to official information, dozens of white-skinned victims were reported killed every year. But the real number is likely to be much higher, considering that many of the attacks were never reported to or recorded by the police. The victimization always followed the same pattern.
So tell me, how did it happen?
It was about 8:30 in the evening on July 26, 2009. The dogs outside the house started barking when I was putting my daughter to bed. At 8:40, someone started knocking down the door. 3 men broke in and grabbed my husband. They were carrying 2 machetes and an axe, and they told me not to scream or they'd kill me. Then they immediately started chopping my husband into pieces, right there in front of me. One of them cut off his ear, another cut off his leg. It was as if they were butchering a cow. One of the kids started screaming, and a man yelled, "Shut your child up or we'll kill you all." The neighbors heard everything, but no one came to help. Everybody was just too scared.
After witnessing her husband's gruesome death, Maria had to raise 5 children on her own. She left her house and settled for a mud hut. A year ago, the police called her. A criminal investigation had found the men suspected of her husband's murder. Maria recognized all 3 of them. During the court hearing, they explained that a local witch doctor had instructed them to deliver various albino body parts.
This is my bed. This is my bed. I sleep in here.
Hassan has now lived for 5 years at the boarding school for albino Africans. His whole world is within the campus. Everything he owns fits easily into this small metal box.
This is a mine. My cap is special for preventing sun.
Today, his regular and settled daily routine has been disrupted.
We have in this box, again, we have clothes. Clothes, this will be used. As you know, many children are the parents are bringing them here, but they do not have enough equipment, enough clothes. So we thought we have to give to the children.
Local authorities were shocked by the wave of albinos being murdered in the 2000s.
In that situation, the government had to set up a number of camps whereby these children would be taken care of. And this Buhangiji Center is one of such centers with a population of about 248 children with albinism.
What we are missing now is inclusion. If you send me to the camp today, it's really that is exclusion. Because I would like to live like other people, the way how they live in the community. But we are missing. If you see children, like the children with albinism are in the camp, it's really you cannot believe. It's an unbelievable story, but it's a true story.
Does the media lead us or we lead the media? Privacy versus security. All right, your party, where's it going? The questions that no one is asking with the guests that you deserve answers from. It's all on Politicking, only on RT.
Trying to clear out the square. As you can see, a lot of people. We're going to be moving this. It's a genuine war zone here. Like a war. This is sort of changing every minute.
No weapons. I have my own weapon. This is microphone, which I need, by the way.
Lots of people think that's exciting all the time, but in these cases, you do have to wait a lot sometimes for nothing, actually.
There's so many other elements in broadcast journalism that you have to deal with. It's not just only about the story. It's you're being judged. Everything you say is being judged. How you say it is being judged. How you look, you're being judged. Where you are is being judged. All of these elements can add a lot of stress.
crosstalk rules in effect. That means you can jump in anytime you want.
My name is Josephat Terner. Who do you think I am? Look, I'm white and he's black. But I'm a human being too, just like you.
You're a ghost.
Me? A ghost?
Yeah, you're a ghost.
Touch my hand. Does that feel like the hand of a ghost?
Josephat is visibly upset. He had hoped that in his home village people would be more tolerant and better informed. But he soon learns that the attitudes of modern school children towards albino children have barely changed from the superstitious stereotyping Josephat had to endure as a child.
This is the school where actually I grown up, and I started here from standard 1 up to standard 7. When I was here, I was alone. Many children actually didn't know what is the albinism. So sometimes I wanted to play with them, but really they ran away because they were taught that, albinism is a curse.
This is where I live. It's my corner. Do you want to see where I sleep?
A tiny 2-square-meter spot of land in the open air is what 50-year-old Saeed calls home. For 3 years, he's been forced to live with his sister and at her expense because he can no longer find work. Saeed has become virtually disabled simply by the color of his skin.
It was in 2010. I was collecting dry branches from the forest when 2 Maasai men came up and asked if I had any tobacco. I did have some with me, and when I bent down to pick up my tobacco, they hit me on the back of my head with a stick. They hit me 3 times, 2 strikes to the back of my head, and then they punched me in the face. I was knocked out, and when I came round, I saw that my left hand was gone.
Saeed's attackers were never found. His severed left hand was probably traded on the thriving underground market where albino body parts are highly valued by local witch doctors.
People were emphasized that if you get a body part of an albino, you'll become rich. The body parts of people with albinism are being found today witch doctors.
In Tanzania, witch doctors or traditional healers are endowed with enormous power and authority. People will turn to them for all kinds of everyday advice. No one will ever know which healer first suggested that making a potion with an albino's bones could cure any disease, make someone rich, or ensure good fortune. But the barbaric practice spread rapidly throughout the lake zone in the 21st century. During their travels, Josephat and his colleagues had the rare opportunity to talk to Mrs. Juma, one of the region's most powerful and influential witch doctors. Juma's body is said to be possessed by the spirit of her long-departed grandmother whenever she falls into a trance, and so here she claims to be speaking on behalf of her grandmother.
These witch doctors are liars. Of course I know that there are a few of them who do indeed say, bring me an albino's hand or an albino's ear and I'll make you rich. But this is not magic. This is just fraud. But I never told any of them to do so. They made it up themselves. Now they make money out of it. Personally, I only use traditional magic. And for our craft, we never use methods like that.
A girl used to live in this house. She was just 2 years old when she died of malaria. The undertakers at the local cemetery refused to bury her there because they were scared that if anyone raided her grave, they'd be held to blame. And so the parents had to bury her inside their home. When asked, they just said that they'd buried their daughter a long time ago and wouldn't say where. That was because shortly before this, in the neighboring village, an albino's grave was dug up and the body was dismembered.
Joseph also lived in a small village. For several years, he remained in constant fear.
When a teenage albino was mutilated in my village and had his leg cut off, I was really scared. For my own protection, my family decided that I should sleep under Granddad's bed at night instead of my own bed. It was awful. I always carried a machete with me, but I didn't really have any problems.
Farmer John is, by local standards, an independent and wealthy man. He has a big house, a substantial family, and a large herd of cattle. John is used to being self-reliant, and when he heard rumors that the locals were hunting albinos, he was ready to protect his own white-skinned children.
Look, I was prepared to defend my children with the help of this. In 2007, when Lucas was still little, a strange man visited the neighbors and asked about a white child and where he was living, but they didn't tell him anything. He went away and never came back, but I was so terrified, so worried, that I used to keep my spear and machete at my side at all times.
In addition to the headhunters and witch doctors, albinos also face another eternal enemy, the sun. Because of the lack of pigmentation, their skin has no protection from harmful ultraviolet light. Statistically, 85% of albinos will die before reaching the age of 40. Most will fall victim to skin cancer.
For me, the disease started a few months ago. First, it was no more than a small tumor, a bit like a mole. I barely even noticed it at first, and then it started growing really fast, and now, as you can see, it's turned into this lump. I went to see the local doctors in Mwanza. They only said it was some kind of inflammation. It was only a few months after that that they finally told me that I needed to come here, but I didn't have any money to pay for travel. I got here 2 days ago.
This hospital in Dar es Salaam is the only clinic in the whole country able to use modern methods to treat skin cancer, radio and chemotherapy. The treatment is free, but relatively few albinos can make the journey.
Now we see an increase in the number of cases of cancer in the albinos. They come with an advanced cancer. Like you can see this patient, he had spent almost 6 months going back and forth. That's why the cancer advanced, whereby the treatment for cure is very challenging.
After dinner, Hassan plans to venture outside the camp. He has a little money after some generous visitors have been to see him. He wants to spend it at the local market. His shopping list includes a new keyring, sandals, and a Manchester United t-shirt, his favorite football team. Until the evening, when the harmful sun sets, he'll study English.
This is a summary, geography. Geography is a study of money and the surrounding our environment.
Hassan hopes that knowledge will be useful because, sooner or later, he knows he'll have to leave the camp. As he drifts off to sleep, his dreams are just the same as many other African children. One day, Hassan wants to be rich.
I can't imagine what my future will be like when I leave the camp, but I would very much like to become a businessman. I need some startup money for this, but I'm an orphan, and unfortunately, I'm not on very good terms with my other relatives. They're ashamed of me because of the color of my skin. I have nowhere to go. I thought of becoming a musician, but that's not likely to work out.
Kabula will finish school in a year and has to make an important life decision. Her dreams are not the same as Hassan's. She doesn't want riches. She dreams of justice.
I want to be a lawyer and help other people like me, other albinos, to protect them.
The 3 men who attacked Kabula and severed her arm were arrested. She saw them in court and now says she's forgiven them.
I was sitting directly opposite them and they didn't say a thing. I also kept my silence. I know that they only did what they did to escape poverty. All they wanted was some money. I looked at them and I felt sorry for them.
The education will minimize, will remove these barriers which now we are facing means discrimination. If the community will agree to support people with albinism in the education field. But if not education, for sure, this group is still behind of the world.
Josephat has returned to Dar es Salaam after his long trip through the lake zone. He plans to go back to the north again after a while. He sees educating people and giving lectures as his mission in life, and never tires of repeating the same facts over and again.
Okay. Asante. My blood and your blood, it doesn't mean that if I cut here, maybe my blood will be blue or yellow. Not. My color has forced me to be a refugee in my home country because of my color. What I'm looking as Josephat, I'm looking for a justice.